When life behind Buckingham Palace's gilded walls was finally revealed, no one could have predicted the storm it would ignite. For the maids who served in its grand halls, each day was a delicate dance of perfection, secrecy, and unspoken rules. Behind the glittering chandeliers and polished floors lay pressures so intense, so relentless, that some could no longer endure them. But what was it, hidden in plain sight, that drove these loyal staff to leave one of the world's most iconic residences? This is the shocking story they never expected to tell. The unimaginable pressure faced by maids. Beyond Buckingham Palace's glittering chandeliers and gleaming gold, a hidden world quietly thrives, a realm of strict rules, exacting standards, and relentless precision. While visitors marvel at polished floors and centuries of grandeur, few glimpse the disciplined, high-stakes environment behind the luxurious facade, where every detail is meticulously managed and perfection is not optional, but demanded. It is a side of the palace that remains largely unseen, yet essential to its timeless elegance and order. Anne Simmons, who devoted more than a decade of her life to cleaning the palace's 775 rooms, offers a rare and revealing glimpse into this secret universe. Her experiences uncover a reality far removed from the tourist brochures and media images of royal splendor. In Anne's hands, a mop or cloth was never just a cleaning tool. It was part of a meticulous system where every action mattered. The palace, she explains, is a place where even the smallest misstep can create ripples that extend far beyond a single room. In this concealed realm, cleaning transcended mere dusting or polishing. It was a precise, almost ceremonial practice. Every movement followed an unspoken code rooted in hierarchy, tradition, and centuries of expectation. Staff worked silently, efficiently, anticipating needs before they were expressed. A misaligned item, a smudged surface, or a lapse in protocol could trigger repercussions far beyond the immediate task. Here, housekeeping was not just about appearances. It was about safeguarding the very integrity and legacy of Buckingham Palace. Anne's accounts paint a portrait of life under relentless precision. Even the simplest chores demanded exacting focus. Mops had to be wrung to specific tension, cloths folded with meticulous care, and cleaning solutions mixed according to strict formulas. Each action adhered to time-honored procedures, merging practical necessity with ceremonial respect for tradition. The work required patience, endurance, and a deep grasp of the palace's rhythm. For Anne and her colleagues, every day was a careful balancing act between speed and flawlessness, discretion and exposure, efficiency and reverence. Beyond the physical labor, there was the pressure of unspoken observation. Staff were constantly aware that their actions were never entirely private. A visitor, a senior member of the household, or even a passing royal glance could reveal both competence and errors. In this environment, vigilance was not optional. It was a survival skill. Discipline became second nature, and meticulousness was woven into every task, whether cleaning a grand hall or tending to a private suite. Anne Simmons's account transforms our understanding of Buckingham Palace from a mere symbol of glamour into a living, breathing ecosystem. It is a place where grandeur and elegance coexist with strict order, where every polish, every sweep, and every motion carries weight, and where the dedication of the people working behind the scenes sustains centuries of tradition. In the palace's hidden corridors, cleaning transforms into an art, and the maids who sustain its perfection endure pressures few could withstand. But what other shocking secrets did Simmons reveal about life behind the gilded walls? Let's find out. The strict cleaning rules. Inside Buckingham Palace, where opulence and history meet, even the tools used for cleaning are tightly controlled. Anne Simmons revealed that some items ordinary people take for granted were strictly forbidden. What seems like a small detail in a normal household, a disposable wet wipe, for instance, could not enter these royal walls. Despite being labeled flushable, wet wipes were completely banned, a decision personally supported by King Charles himself. The reasoning behind such strict rules was both practical and principled. Wet wipes often caused plumbing damage, clogging the palace's intricate pipe system and triggering costly recurring repairs. But there was also a deeper environmental consideration. Buckingham Palace, with its centuries-old traditions, had begun embracing sustainability, and single-use products simply did not fit that vision. As a result, reusable cloths became the standard. These cloths were gentler on surfaces, less wasteful, and aligned with the household's commitment to long-term care and responsibility. In Buckingham Palace, cleaning followed rules as precise as the walls were grand. Everyday tools like steel wool were banned for their risk of scratching delicate marble, granite, and stainless steel. Instead, staff used soft microfiber cloths and natural solutions, vinegar, lemon juice, and warm water, carefully crafted to remove grime without leaving residue. Every surface, from kitchens to halls, had to maintain the flawless appearance demanded by centuries of royal tradition. In this hidden world, even the gentlest methods became acts of discipline, preserving elegance and upholding the palace's storied legacy. For Anne, the work went far beyond speed or convenience. Cleaning in Buckingham Palace was about precision, foresight, and long-term maintenance. Every motion mattered, every tool had a purpose, and every product was chosen to preserve both the beauty and functionality of the palace. She described her work as a delicate balance. One misstep could have ripple effects, potentially causing damage that would be noticed not just by staff, but by members of the royal family themselves. Within Buckingham Palace, even the simplest cleaning tasks carried immense importance. Staff were expected to perform every duty with absolute care, respect, and precision, using only approved materials and techniques. While outsiders might see these rules as extreme, they safeguarded the palace's grandeur, historical legacy, and image of perfection. Although, according to whispers, these might be the real reason why some maids left the palace. More so, excellence wasn't optional. It was a way of life, ensuring that every corner reflected the meticulous standards of a world-famous royal residence, where every action, however small, contributed to maintaining centuries of tradition, elegance, and prestige. Anne's revelations offer a rare glimpse into a world where even the most mundane tasks, mopping a floor, polishing a countertop, or scrubbing a sink, required knowledge, skill, and discipline. In this environment, cleaning was more than a chore. It was an art form, a demonstration of loyalty, and a daily commitment to sustaining an iconic institution. Every cloth, every homemade solution, every precise sweep reflected Buckingham Palace's relentless demand for perfection. For the maids working under these strict rules, the pressure could be overwhelming. But what did daily life behind the palace's glittering walls truly look like? Let's find out. Inside Buckingham Palace. Life at Buckingham Palace at first glance seems like a dream job. The gilded halls, sparkling chandeliers, and centuries of history offer an almost magical glimpse into royal life. To many, working here might appear to be a privilege filled with elegance and purpose. But, as Anne Simmons revealed, the reality behind these walls is far more demanding than most could imagine. For those employed in the palace, every day comes with invisible pressures, relentless scrutiny, and expectations that leave no room for error. Anne portrayed Buckingham Palace as more than a home. It was a living museum where every task demanded flawless precision. From polishing counters to dusting priceless artifacts, even minor mistakes could harm centuries-old furnishings or disrupt the palace's intricate routines. In this world, each action mattered, and a single lapse could ripple far beyond the task at hand.
You'll need to go to the left here, and the public entrance to Buckingham Palace is here at Buckingham Gate,
affecting both the palace's legacy and the reputation of the royal household itself. The work required more than technical skill. Patience, discipline, and a profound respect for tradition were essential. Even seemingly trivial rules, like the strict bans on wet wipes or steel wool, were a reflection of a broader culture where every detail mattered. Disposable wipes, despite being marketed as flushable, could clog the palace plumbing, while steel wool risked scratching marble and polished stainless steel. What might appear as a minor restriction in a regular household was, in the palace, a non-negotiable rule designed to preserve both the building and its centuries-old heritage. For Anne and her colleagues, cleaning transcended mere chores. It became a disciplined art. Every motion, every swipe, and each application of carefully prepared cleaners demanded focus and reverence. Using soft microfiber cloths and homemade solutions of vinegar, lemon, and warm water, they preserved the palace's priceless interiors with meticulous precision, mindful that each task carried weight, each tool had purpose, and every action contributed to maintaining a flawless, enduring standard of perfection. In this hidden world, discipline was not optional, it was essential. Staff were constantly aware that their work contributed directly to the palace's flawless image. A hallway swept incorrectly, a table polished too harshly, or a minor oversight in a stateroom could all compromise the appearance of excellence. Every gesture, no matter how small, mattered. Anne's account reveals a side of Buckingham Palace that rarely reaches the public eye. Behind the grandeur and historical significance lies a working environment defined by rigor, vigilance, and an unwavering commitment to tradition. The rules, the precision, and the demands are all part of a legacy, one that shapes the lives of those who serve, leaving them with responsibilities few outsiders can fully comprehend. In this world, perfection is not merely encouraged, it is expected. Cleaning is not a routine task, but a demonstration of loyalty, skill, and reverence for history. Every action in the palace preserves centuries of tradition and its flawless image. But can staff always meet these exacting standards? And what happens when pressure overwhelms? Let's explore the controversy that exposed hidden tensions behind palace doors. Lady Susan Hussey's fall from grace. At 83, Lady Susan Hussey, once one of the most trusted and long-serving aides of the royal household, became the focus of a controversy that quickly captured global attention. Known for decades of service and close ties to Queen Elizabeth, Lady Susan's reputation was suddenly overshadowed by an incident at a Buckingham Palace reception, an event meant to celebrate organizations tackling violence against women. What began as a night of recognition and unity turned tense when Lady Susan allegedly questioned Ngozi Fulani, CEO of Sista Space, in a manner Fulani described as intrusive and totally stunning, centering on her personal background rather than the event itself. The encounter left Fulani visibly uncomfortable, and once the details reached the public, the reaction was swift and uncompromising. Lady Susan issued profound apologies for the hurt caused and immediately stepped aside from her honorary role, bringing an abrupt end to a decades-long chapter of royal service.
Lady Susan Hussey saying sorry to Ngozi Fulani. It was, we're told, a meeting filled with warmth and understanding.
Buckingham Palace confirmed the resignation and issued a statement condemning the behavior, emphasizing that such actions would not be tolerated. The rapid response signaled the monarchy's awareness of the broader social and cultural implications of the incident, particularly regarding race, identity, and inclusion within its historically elite environment. Prince William, Lady Susan's godson, also addressed the situation through a spokesperson, calling it really disappointing and reiterating that racism has no place in our society. His comments not only distanced him from the controversy, but underscored the values he upholds as he prepares for future leadership. The incident, occurring during a reception highlighting domestic abuse, a cause championed by Queen Camilla, added an ironic and troubling layer. A night meant to honor advocacy and support for vulnerable women was overshadowed by a clash of prejudice and perception, diminishing the evening's intended message. The fallout extended beyond palace walls. Public figures, such as Government Minister Paul Scully, highlighted the subtler forms of prejudice that exist in everyday interactions. He reflected on his own experiences as someone of Burmese descent, noting that casual assumptions and intrusive questions can reveal biases just as sharply as overt discrimination. The episode illuminated a larger tension. Even those deeply embedded in tradition and privilege are accountable under contemporary expectations of equity and social awareness. Lady Susan's resignation, therefore, was more than a personal consequence. It became a symbol of the monarchy's challenge in balancing centuries-old tradition with modern social values. Having served the royal household since 1960, including as a close confidant to the late Queen, Her fall from grace demonstrated that reputation and tenure
Let's make something clear. Buckingham Palace have not reached out to me. I haven't heard anything from...
cannot shield anyone from accountability. At the same time, Fulani's composure and public stance highlighted the power of asserting dignity and demanding respect, regardless of status or hierarchy. Ultimately, the incident shows that Buckingham Palace, despite its grandeur, is not immune to human error, bias, or scrutiny. But what happens when palace pressures push a maid past her limit, and how do those around her react? Let's uncover the shocking details. When palace pressure boils over, even the most disciplined workplaces can experience moments when tension spills over, and Buckingham Palace is no exception. Behind the palace's gleaming chandeliers, polished floors, and ceremonial halls lies a world of invisible pressures, exacting expectations, and unrelenting scrutiny. The staff who keep the royal household running operate under rules that few outside could imagine. And in December, this high-pressure environment briefly erupted beyond the palace walls, revealing the hidden intensity of royal employment. Reports indicate that around 50 members of palace staff attended a Christmas gathering at All Bar 1 in London. The evening began innocently enough, with pre-party drinks at Buckingham Palace offering employees a rare chance to relax and socialize after demanding shifts. But what was meant to be a lighthearted celebration quickly escalated into chaos. According to The Sun, a housemaid allegedly threw a punch at the bar manager, smashed glasses, and was subsequently arrested. A night of festivity transformed into a public spectacle.
If I may, I would particularly like to express the United Kingdom's deepest gratitude.
Highlighting the immense pressures that come with serving one of the world's most prestigious households. The Metropolitan Police confirmed the events in a formal statement. Officers were called to the Victoria Street Bar on December 10th, following reports that a customer had caused property damage and attempted to assault a staff member. A 24-year-old woman was taken into custody on suspicion of common assault, criminal damage, and being drunk and disorderly. She was released the following evening after receiving a penalty notice for disorder. Buckingham Palace responded with measured gravity. A spokesperson clarified that while the gathering was informal and not an official palace Christmas party, it involved household staff who had attended an early evening reception at the palace. The facts will be fully investigated, with a robust disciplinary process followed in relation to individual staff and appropriate action taken, the statement read, reflecting the institution's commitment to both accountability and decorum. This episode offers a revealing glimpse into the hidden realities of palace life. While the public often sees Buckingham Palace as a flawless symbol of grandeur and tradition, staff experience immense responsibility behind the scenes. Long hours, precise routines, and constant attention to protocol create an environment where stress can accumulate rapidly. Even a social event intended for relaxation can become a pressure point, as personal and professional lives intersect in ways outsiders rarely witness. The incident also underscores the delicate balance between public image and internal discipline. Staff are expected to uphold the palace's high standards both on duty and off. Even informal occasions carry weight, and a single lapse in judgment can influence reputation, perception, and career consequences. Life as a royal employee extends far beyond formal responsibilities, affecting personal composure under constant observation. Ultimately, the Christmas party incident serves as both a cautionary tale and a revealing lens into the human side of Buckingham Palace. While the arrest of a young housemaid might appear minor in the grand scope of royal affairs, it exposed the pressures that staff face daily. Behind Buckingham Palace's glittering pomp, staff endure relentless pressure, scrutiny, and exacting expectations. But what safeguards prevent incidents like the notorious Christmas party? And how do palace maids navigate these intense demands? Let's uncover the strict, little-known rules that govern life behind the palace walls. Behind the glittering facade. Inside Buckingham Palace, life for staff was far more regimented and demanding than the public might imagine. Darren McGrady, the Queen's former chef, described the palace as a self-contained village, where every movement, conversation, and task was tightly controlled by strict rules and a rigid hierarchy. Male and female employees lived in separate wings, while the residence itself was organized into floors for housemaids, footmen, and kitchen staff. Crossing these designated areas without explicit permission was strictly forbidden, and even minor infractions could lead to serious consequences. This meticulous order was essential to keeping the palace running smoothly, yet it created immense pressure for those who lived and worked there. Every mistake carried potential repercussions, damaging priceless surfaces, disrupting centuries-old traditions, or attracting formal disciplinary measures. Staff members were expected to maintain unwavering focus, balancing long hours with a constant awareness of protocols, etiquette, and the historical significance of their environment. McGrady explained that the separation of staff by gender and function wasn't just for the organization. It reinforced discipline and maintained the palace's carefully structured social order. The floors and wings were almost like distinct worlds, each with its own routines, responsibilities, and expectations. Employees quickly learned that any breach of protocol, however small, could ripple across the palace, affecting operations, schedules, and even the daily lives of fellow staff. Living within the palace walls also meant that work and personal life were inseparable. Staff had their rooms and meals provided, but they were always on duty, whether formally or informally, and expected to act with professionalism at all times. There was no escaping the watchful eyes of supervisors, colleagues, or even the unspoken presence of royal tradition, which demanded respect, discretion, and precision in everything they did. McGrady also emphasized the psychological demands of this environment. Beyond physical labor, employees had to navigate a complex social hierarchy, understand subtle signals, and anticipate the needs of a household steeped in ceremony and formality. The pressure was constant. Even small lapses could carry consequences far beyond immediate tasks, influencing reputations, schedules, and the smooth operation of the royal household. In this extraordinary setting, daily life combined privilege with responsibility. Staff had access to a world of history, opulence, and culture that few could ever experience, yet it came with an unrelenting expectation of perfection. Every corridor walked, every dish prepared, and every surface cleaned had to reflect the palace's exacting standards. Ultimately, McGrady's insights reveal that behind Buckingham Palace's glittering facade lies a highly structured, disciplined environment, where tradition governs not only the monarchy, but the lives of those who serve it. It is a place where precision, hierarchy, and vigilance shape every moment, and where the invisible weight of history and protocol ensures that staff live in a world entirely apart from the one seen by the public. Every gesture in Buckingham Palace carries weight, every task demands precision, and the rhythm of life hums with relentless discipline. But how far do these rules stretch? Now let's uncover the relentless precision, hidden rules, and secret pressures that drive palace chefs to their limits. Inside the Queen's kitchen. The intensity of life at Buckingham Palace extended far beyond formal hallways, glittering ceremonies, and strict household protocols. It reached the very heart of the royal kitchen. Darren McGrady, the Queen's former chef, revealed that working in this space was a world unlike any professional culinary environment. Every meal prepared for Her Majesty was not simply about taste or presentation. It was a performance of precision, discipline, and exacting standards, where even the smallest misstep could ripple through the palace and tarnish centuries of tradition. In this rarefied kitchen, ingredient selection was a matter of both quality and loyalty to the monarchy's values. Local and indigenous produce, often sourced directly from royal estates such as Balmoral, was treated as sacred. Fresh berries, garden vegetables, river salmon, and estate-raised deer were not merely food. They were a reflection of the Queen's connection to her lands and her appreciation of Britain's natural bounty. Each ingredient had to be showcased to its fullest potential, carefully prepared to highlight its freshness, flavor, and seasonal character. The choice of what went on the plate was never casual. It required deep knowledge, attention to detail, and an understanding that presentation carried symbolic meaning. Certain ingredients, however, were strictly forbidden. Garlic, for instance, was never allowed in palace dishes. While common in restaurants and even household kitchens, The pungent spice had no place in royal dining. Chefs had to exercise self-discipline, suppressing personal culinary preferences and creativity to conform precisely to palace rules. Unlike many kitchens where chefs experiment freely with flavors, techniques, and plating, the royal kitchen demanded subordination of individual choice to household standards. Every decision, no matter how seemingly minor, was bound by tradition, protocol, and the unspoken expectation of excellence. Presentation was equally critical. The plating of each dish had to be flawless, demonstrating both skill and respect for the Queen's expectations. A misaligned garnish or an unbalanced arrangement of flavors could be seen as carelessness, a breach of the household's meticulous ethos. Taste alone was not enough. The visual impact and the symbolic meaning of each dish carried weight. In McGrady's words, the kitchen reflected the palace itself, a place where precision ruled, where every motion mattered, and where respect for centuries-old tradition defined the work ethic. This culture of exacting discipline extended beyond cooking techniques. Chefs and kitchen staff operated under constant observation, aware that any lapse might not only disrupt service, but also fail to honor Queen Elizabeth II, her household, and the institution they served. The relentless pressure required patience, focus, and a willingness to suppress personal ambition in favor of collective excellence. Mistakes were not merely errors. They were potential affronts to legacy and reputation. Ultimately, McGrady's insight offers a glimpse into one of the hidden reasons why palace maids experience such intense pressure, and why some choose to leave Buckingham Palace. The royal kitchen, like the palace itself, demanded unwavering commitment, precise execution, and total respect for tradition. Creativity, while admired elsewhere, was secondary to service. Personal expression had to bow to protocol, and excellence was non-negotiable. Every dish demanded discipline, every meal reflected loyalty, and every moment revealed the intense pressures of serving one of the world's most iconic households. But did the pay truly match the demands faced by the palace maids? Let's uncover the striking reality. The shocking pay behind Buckingham Palace's glamour. Despite the grandeur, history, and iconic status of Buckingham Palace, the realities for some of its staff reveal a striking contrast. A recent job advertisement for a live-in housekeeper exposed this hidden side. The hourly pay listed was only £7.97, well below the national minimum wage for adults over 22 years. The advertised annual salary of £19,900, while including accommodation and meals, sparked immediate criticism from labor unions and commentators who called the wage obscene, considering the wealth of the royal household. Legally, deductions for lodging are permitted, and employers may reduce wages to account for accommodation costs, capped at £8.70 per day or £60.90 per week, including a 15% employer pension contribution, which the palace described as part of a competitive overall package. Nevertheless, the disparity between the prestige of working at Buckingham Palace and the actual pay drew public scrutiny, highlighting the challenges of valuing domestic work in elite households. Buckingham Palace responded by emphasizing that the published hourly rate was an error and that the full remuneration, when factoring in accommodation and meals, remains competitive compared to similar live-in roles across London. However, critics argued that even with these perks, the wage falls short of reflecting the skill, discipline, and commitment required to work in one of the world's most famous residences. The advertisement underscores the tension inherent in palace employment. Staff members live and work in an environment where discipline and precision are paramount, from cleaning opulent halls to maintaining historic furnishings. Living on-site further increases responsibility, as staff must be constantly available and adhere to strict palace protocols. The modest pay, juxtaposed with these demands, reveals a hidden side of life behind the palace gates that rarely reaches public awareness. This controversy also highlights broader issues faced by live-in domestic staff in prestigious households. Legal allowances for accommodation deductions, while common, can result in employees earning less than standard wages, especially in cities with high living costs like London. For Buckingham Palace, an institution synonymous with luxury, the low advertised wage underscores the contrast between public perception and the everyday experiences of the people who sustain the royal household. Ultimately, the incident is more than a matter of money. It exposes the unseen pressures, sacrifices, and complexities faced by palace staff. While the public marvels at glittering halls and ceremonial grandeur, the workforce behind the scenes navigates demanding roles, long hours, and the expectation of perfection, sometimes for pay that does not match the prestige of the position. This glimpse into Buckingham Palace's employment practices provides a striking example of the human side of royal life, where responsibility, service, and reality often collide behind the palace doors. So, what do you think might be the reasons why maids left the Buckingham Palace? We would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe.